So, on today's episode, we'll be having a very special guest, someone that I haven't really met in person, but this person has managed to inspire me. Leadership that I'm very fascinated with, and I cannot wait to just have this conversation with that
What I would
person.
like to share is this. Whatever you do, whatever your line of work is, look at that as a service. Because when there's service and significance, with those two things, you find that your life start getting fulfilled. Because it comes back, and it comes back in multitude when you serve people.
I am so happy for this moment because you are that one person that has truly inspired me, even without meeting me face to face. All I can feel is your leadership presence and your thought leadership in everything that you're doing online, from your post, how you carry yourself. There's just something about you that it's very professional. It's just something I look up to. So just having this moment, man, you have
Thank
no idea.
you.
And everybody who's watching, welcome to Conversational Lounge, where we mentor, connect, and inspire others through real life stories. And today's story is not exception to that. This is the reason why we have this show. It's to share such amazing stories and to bring amazing people and amazing guests to this show so they can share their story. They can walk you through their journey, what they've done along the ways, and if you can, even pick up a thing or two from their life, that way you don't have to start from the ground up. You can start from that one step. So it's just a step ladder. And if we can have this network and support each other, that's what we're here for. So please, without further ado, help me welcome my next guest, Mary. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Trudy, for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yes, absolutely. And so, for those people who don't know who Mary Kim is, like I have had the chance to know you online, not in person, tell me a little bit about who Mary is. I know you're doing a lot of things, but hey, this is your moment to shine.
Oh my goodness, that's a jam-packed question, but I'll try. I like to think that Mary Kim is a girl from Kenya who came to America in search of American dream, like everybody else. I came here right after high school. Never worked in Kenya. I don't have any experience working in Kenya. So really, my whole adulthood has been here in the U.S. I'm a mother to two boys, 15-year-old Cameron and 13-year-old Aiden. And Trudy, as you know, my 15-year-old son Cameron has autism. So I am not only an autism mom, but I'm an autism advocate. That is very near and dear to my heart. So being a mother of two growing young men, one with autism, keeps me very busy. But they are my life. Those are my two heartbeats. So I would do anything for them. For me, everything I do goes back to being a mother. That's my biggest accomplishment. Like, I would give the world just for those two boys. Outside being a mother, I'm, of course, a professional. I am in leadership, been a leader in corporate America for almost 20 years. My specialty is actually in people management and people leadership, but I also have a lot of experience in product management on software development. I've worked with global companies, a lot of Fortune 10 companies as a product manager on a consultant um, basis, not as a full-time employee. I am an entrepreneur. I run my own businesses. I have an athleisure store called Executive that is very dear to my heart because I started it because of my passion for beautiful working out or workout clothes, fitness clothing that I can wear to the gym, lounge in my house, or wear to the airport or whatever. I also do a lot of business consultation and business coaching, executive coaching, and brand ambassadorship. And that's pretty much me.
Wow, you wear so many hats. Congratulations for
Thank
launching
you.
your business. And actually, I want to throw in a little plug about your executive brand.
Thank you.
I absolutely love the quality. So I know I own a pair, and there's one of the interviews that I did with it was with Nick at Farrell's gym, and I had that's what I was wearing. I was wearing your
Oh
brand.
no, I didn't know that. Hmm.
I absolutely love it. It's just the material, it's just
Hmm.
high quality and it has a pocket. That is, when you go to the gym, you just want somewhere that you can put something in there. And then if
Right.
you're listening to music, it's amazing. Kudos. I had to throw that in there because it is one of my favorites.
Yeah, that is very, very close to my heart because I love beautiful things, but I also love quality. And as a Black woman, our bodies are unique in the way they are shaped. Most of us have very small waist, but we have hips and all that stuff. And it's very, very hard to find a beautiful fitting fitness clothing that's not going to cost an arm and a leg, or basically start falling apart after washing a couple of times. So I wanted to create something I'm proud of wearing and I'm proud of selling to my friends and customers, because I don't sell anything I don't wear. Everything that I carry in my store is something that I personally wear. That's why this this particular business of athleisure wear and fitness wear is is a baby of mine because it's something that I really treasure. And I want women to feel beautiful when they wear my clothes. And it doesn't matter what size they are. I carry up to 2X from size 2. For me, all it matters to me is to just have women feel beautiful, empowered, and proud of themselves, regardless of their size.
Amazing. So I wanna go back to just your personal life just a little bit, and then
Mhm.
we'll get into the professional aspect. Because I am, as I said, I am very fascinated with your life all around. I
Me
want to make
too.
this come full circle. So walk me through your journey a little bit in the regard of what pushed you into leadership and especially into people leadership.
Okay, sure. When I was growing up, I grew up very, very poor. And my parents were teen parents. My mom had me when she was 17 years old, and she dropped out of high school to raise me. So for me and my brother and my sister growing up, we had very, very little. What we did have was great role models. My dad went back to college when all of three of us were born, and he managed to put himself through college, got his diploma from MTC, I think it's called, on occupational therapy. And while he was doing that, my mom, who was a high school dropout, was able to manage several businesses all on her own, and to some extent help my dad with his college. Watching her navigate through that as a female leader, literally, that what to me was like real life cook. I wouldn't even say coaching, because she wasn't coaching me. She was basically like a modeling on everything that she was doing on daily basis: how to be a good leader, conflict resolution, how to set good examples. She was very involved in the community. At the time, I didn't realize that was what leadership was. I just thought that my mom, that's what moms do. It wasn't until later on, when I went to high school, and naturally I gravitated into leadership. Like everybody who went to high school with me will tell you that whenever there was any type of leadership required, I was the first person to do it. And I was also a very, very bright kid. I was always number one or two in my classes, and I excelled, especially in sciences. And it was a, a very unique combination of having somebody who is not only a leader, but very, very bright. And because of that, I ended up having some of the best role models in high school. Without asking, I had teachers like literally just take me under their wings and coach me, help me, and basically um, show me the ropes of leadership. When I left high school and came here, I wasn't sure of what I was gonna expect here, other than my dad was already here. I knew that, of course, I was gonna have a place to stay and all that. The one thing I knew of was I was a leader and I was gonna make it. And I remember when I went to St. Louis, I met this older gentleman, a Kenyan, and he asked me, "Sweetie, what do you want to do in college?" I was very new, barely a month here in the US. And I looked at him and I said, "I want to be in management." And he gave me this weird look and chuckled, and he was like, "You are black. Black people in America don't make it to leadership, especially women." And what he doesn't know is his response lit a fire underneath me, because I didn't understand that. Here is, in Kenya, we look up to older people as the seniors. You expect them to guide you, to help you. And this man literally like crashed me and told me that I will never be a leader. And I didn't even know how I was gonna do it. I just knew that's what I wanted to do. And the way he handled that, talking to me as a 19-year-old, was really devastating. Like, it got me questioning myself, but at the same time, because this is all I knew growing up, there was
Mm-hmm.
no way I was going to allow him to steal that from me. So, as luck would have it, I ended up going to business school. At first, I was a finance major. Only issue is I don't like math at all. So as soon as I found out that I had to do statistics 1 and 2, I was like, "Deuces, I'm out. I'm not doing this." I dropped out of finance. And I was like, "Oh my God, what am I going to do?" So the next best thing was business administration. So I met with my college, I don't know what they were called at the time, counselor, whatever. And I told
Mm-hmm.
her that I wanted to change my major from BA, I mean, from finance to BA. And started talking to her. And she was like, "I think you need something with more substance. Like, business administration is good. Why don't you do a double major? Why don't you do a business administration and computer science?" Because at the time, uh, the technology was there. It just wasn't as it is today. It wasn't as like today. Everybody, including the HVAC guy or the plumber, everybody uses technology. At the time, it wasn't like that. That's when Microsoft was starting to pick up, and there was a lot of talk for database, Oracle, and all that. So I hadn't thought about computer science, and she convinced me. And I was like, "Well, I don't want to do double major. I wonder if there's a way I can marry the two of them." She was like, "As a matter of fact, there is. There's something called MIS, Management Information Systems. You should look into that." I was like, "Oh, I don't need to look into that. Let's do it." So I changed my major to
Mm-hmm.
MIS. And when I did that, I didn't realize that it was going to be challenging. And I remember when I changed my major, the very first class I went based off of my new major was my database 101 class. So I go in there, and I think you've heard me tell this story. I go in the classroom and I look around, is literally all white male, like literally. And I look around and I'm thinking, okay, am I in the right class? And the professor was like, "Hi, how may I help you?" And before I could answer, he goes like, "Sweetie, I think you're in the wrong class." I was like, "Is this class blah, 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 blah?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Then I'm in the right class." So I walk in, sat at the front, And the look on his face when I told him I think I'm in the right class was
Mm-hmm.
priceless. So anyway, at first it was frustrating because he definitely underestimated me, and he didn't think I belonged to that class. And I struggled with this class. But the class that followed that on database, it happened to be an Indian guy who actually lived in Nairobi, and then he moved to the US, and he was an instructor, and he also had a technology company in Birmingham where I went to school. So he was like, I'm gonna help you because I think that there's some fundamentals that are missing from your last class, and I don't know how they are missing, but I'm gonna help you make sure that you have everything that you need to succeed. So he ended up helping me, and I actually ended up being very, very good in his class. I got an A in his class, and after his class, he extended an internship to me. So I went and worked for him while I was still going to school on part-time basis. And that's really how I got started in technology. And while I was working for him, I noticed that even though I love technology, I loved managing more than I loved doing the database or managing database administration and all that kind of stuff. I preferred to manage on a high level. I still wanted to know what was going on. I wanted to be able to understand the conversation, be in the conversation, have a seat at the table. I needed to know the strategic decisions that were going to affect the company and all that. But at the same time, I had the knowledge and the experience to have educated conversations with the developers.
Mm-hmm.
So after I graduated with my MIS, I decided to move from Birmingham to Tampa, and it did take me more than a month, if that, to get a job here in Tampa for a software development company. And that's pretty much where I spent my entire corporate career. I started there as database support person doing network stuff, and then worked my way up all the way to executive level. While I was there, I was able to do just about everything from sales, marketing, product management, managing development, really all around. I've done it all. So when it comes to technology, it's not just something I have done or and have experience with. It's a passion. I love knowing how things are getting created. I love asking the questions why and what are we going to create, how are we going to create it. And also, the joy for me is going from ideation, thinking about, okay, let's go ahead and add this button there on the phone, on the app, because it makes the user experience better, to working with development and walking them through that customer journey. Because at the end of the day, for me, it's not just creating products or managing people. At the core, I love, love, love customer experience. So it's, I guess I'm a little bit weird in the sense that I do leadership management, I do product management, I also love customers. That's why it's so easy, probably, for me to be able to talk to people, even on social media, because I really truly believe that we are all the same. We may be looking for different things, we may have different goals, visions, and all that, but at the end of the day, you and I want something. We all are the same in a different way, if that makes sense. There are
Mm-hmm.
things that makes you happy and things that make me happy. But as human being, on a very basic level, we are all looking for respect. And I think I understand that and I'm able to do that. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I can take a complicated issue and break it in a way that people feel heard and people feel respected. And that has taken, I would say that's probably one of the things that have really served me well in my career.
Wow, that is spot on. First of all, thank you for walking me through your journey. And, just the whole being able to get a perfect marriage between, your love for technology and your love for leadership, and really building that and going through school and being able to find that and making a career out of it. And that's not even it. I think the most powerful part for you, or at least the part that really took me, is you went in, you were the only female in the class. And then first you were told, I think this is the wrong class, and you
Mhm.
had no issues correcting the professor
I've
like,
never had issues like correcting anybody, which has served me well. And at the same time, it's gotten me in trouble. Because if you really think about it, when I was 19, and this older gentleman, who actually happened to be my father's friend, had no problem like shutting me down, shutting a teenager down because he didn't believe that I belonged in leadership. Then when I got into I went to class, database 101 class, this professor, sexist, like literally pretty much told me that, honey, you're in the wrong class. And it
right,
doesn't stop there. When this field is not, it's a very rewarding field, technology is, and I really love it, and I'm so glad to see so many women have joined it. At the same time, you have to have a thick skin. That's because it's a male dominated industry. In fact, it's really the last 5 years that I've seen more female feel comfortable getting into the technology, and I'm not talking about the entry level positions like support or stuff like that. I'm talking about people who make decisions, people who have a seat at the table, people who are saying this is what we are gonna build and this is why, or l- being in leadership in general. You don't see a lot of women, let alone Black women, in leadership position in IT, in technology. And when you make it there, then that's when you find out that there are other challenges that you probably didn't think about. Now, you're not only dealing with gender biases, sometimes you're dealing with, I don't even know how to put it, but you may be in a meeting and people don't mean any harm, but you find yourself being defensive and correcting people because people are out of line. And for me, that's even I don't care what you are, CEO, whatever. If you get out of line and you disrespect my gender, I'm gonna call you out on it.
mhm,
You have to just think that if we are quiet, we have to teach people to treat us right. And
mhm.
I'm able to do that without being disrespectful, and I'm able to explain my reasoning behind that. And that has helped a lot.
Absolutely. And I think also too, just to that point, and I think especially us being immigrants from another country. So because I'm in corporate as well, and I think what really stagnated my career there at the beginning was the fact that I doubted myself, and I doubted the fact that maybe because I have an accent, it might, take me twice as long to get to where my counterparts without an accent could get.
Right.
And then later on, I came to realize that is just a self-fulfilling prophecy
Hmm.
of me putting myself down just because I have
Hmm.
an accent.
Hmm.
And then, and it took a long time for me to start realizing, wait, I am bringing things to the table. I am proud of what I'm bringing to the table, and I need to be part of the conversation. So that's the part that inspires me the most about, I mean, again, you're just a walking inspiration to me, but inspires me about your story too is you went to a male dominated field,
Right.
and then you also navigated corporate to a point where you got to senior leadership. Walk me through that, and what are some of the things that, looking back,
Hmm.
you're thinking, this is what served me well, and if I could do this again, this is how I would do it differently that next time.
Sure. I have to say that I don't believe in luck, right? I believe that luck is when opportunity meets preparedness. You have to be prepared, And then when that opportunity gets to you after you're prepared, then a lot of people may look at that as sheer luck. I just don't believe in that. I believe that you have to do the work. I believe I did the work. I believe going to school. I went to UAB, one of the best schools in Birmingham, a really good business school. And I also did the whole intern. So I did not, when I came to Tampa, it wasn't like a brand new grad who knew nothing. I knew my way around, right? But at the same time, I understood that I had to prove myself. And quite frankly, when I started with the company, one of the mistakes I made was I did not negotiate my salary. I was offered whatever I was offered, and I took it. And that's one thing I tell all women and anybody who is listening: don't ever, ever, ever take the first offer. If you believe you are worth more than that, it's worth your time to negotiate. And I know that a lot of people don't like negotiating. I know that skill, a lot of people look at it as a sales thing. No, it's not. When you know your worth, then there's nothing wrong with asking for that. That I didn't do. So that was mistake number one. When I started, I wore multiple hats because it was a small startup company. Not only did I do network, database stuff, I did support, I did implementation. I also did project management. Mind you, I wasn't a PM, I wasn't a project manager. What happened was, being that I was wearing multiple hats, I became very flexible, right? And I was able to manage change very easy. And those are skills that take a lot of people a long time to master. I was able to master that. As the company grew, being that I was one of the senior employees, I was pulled into many decision making meetings, many strategic planning meetings, and my voice became a constant. I there are some decisions that were not going to be made if I wasn't there and if I didn't have a vote. And I believe that the reason why that came as it was because I wasn't too proud to wear multiple hats and I was very, very open minded. However, even wearing those multiple hats and having a seat at the table, one of the challenges I found was it's very hard once you accept a low ball offer at the start of the career to rise to the market. Because the bar, if you set a low bar and then you start climbing up in your career, it's a hard thing to do. Really, really hard thing to do. When I realized that this little 3% and 5% merit increase were not going to cut it, I decided that I was going to do it a different way. So I got me an executive coach and outside the company. By the way, I'm an executive coach myself, and this is how I know it works, and that's why I became one. I got an executive coach outside the company. I also got an executive sponsor in the company. My executive sponsor at the time was the executive vice president of the company. And the reason why I did that was, number one, I wanted to have what is the word I can put? I wanted somebody to have my name in their mouth in meetings where I'm not present, like high level meetings or conversation and ideas that I'm giving. I wanted those ideas to be understood and to be heard by somebody who was on a higher level than I was. I also wanted somebody who would have my back because when you work in corporate, and you know this, Trudy, corporate can be very interesting. You can't be everywhere. And your personal brand is what people say when you're not in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Very important. Not what you think you are, but what people say when you're not in the room. So for me, I wanted to make sure that this executive sponsor of mine knew what I wanted, knew my goals, knew my career aspirations, and I also wanted to ask him to help me get there. And this is why. When you ask somebody to help you, they literally take that as a personal project and they protect you. So I knew as long as he's guiding me and he's my executive sponsor, he will always have my best interest. And that's exactly what happened. So when the company started growing and we actually went global, we were in South America. What am I talking about? South Africa and also in the UK. We had partnered with one of the largest telecommunications company in the UK. When that happened, we were able to get some funding, and the company pretty much doubled within a few weeks. So what happened is I was one of the first people to get a promotion. And the reason why that happened so fast, I didn't even interview for it, is because I had an executive sponsor. So that was one of the best things that I
Great.
did. There is
Executive sponsor.
a terminology to be, I don't want to say invaluable, but people see you as a company, as an asset in the company without being in the gossip mill. Like you would never, ever, ever, ever find me being part of the gossip crew in any company. I stay away from that. I don't want anything
Mhm.
to do with that. At the same time, when the conversations that matter are taking place, that's where you'll find me. You'll find me in the middle of of
Mhm.
that conversation somewhere,
So being
and
intentional with your
intentional.
contribution.
Right, right. I'm also intentional with the conversations I choose to be a part of. Because not every conversation deserves your time and your energy. So I understood that. And I remember that was a very, very difficult lesson for me to learn because when you're working with people, you want to connect, you want to belong, you want to know what's going on. But then what happens is, depending on who you're connecting with, um, sometimes perception is worse than reality, right?
Hmm.
And I remember when I started working with my executive sponsor, he verbatim told me, I don't want you to be associated with these people here. And the reason behind that is because these people already have a reputation. And I don't want that reputation to be Mary's reputation. So be very intentional with what you say, who you say to, and what you choose to be a part of. So
Hmm.
those lessons were very, very helpful, and they guided me when growing my career. So that's literally how I went from an entry level position to growing myself up into
Hmm.
the executive level. Now, what I found was when I got to that level, it became hard because I was the only woman, not just Black woman, just the only woman.
Hmm.
And a lot of policies I would disagree, not a lot, but some policies I would disagree with because I didn't feel that there was diversity and inclusion. So I would speak up. And then it became one versus nine because it was 10 of us. I'm the woman, and the rest of them are guys, and they couldn't see anything wrong with some of the decisions or suggestions that they were making. So it started getting frustrating, right? And I realized that it was an uphill battle because clearly I was outnumbered. At the same time, I wasn't gonna be silenced, and they were not trying to silence me. It just was sometimes we were not on the same page, you know,
Hmm.
same book, for lack of a better word. And I remember explaining to them why it was a bad idea that the entire executive level, other than myself, a Black woman, was all there was no diversity. I was just me. So I would speak up. And yes, some of the things that I suggested were incorporated after me pushing relentlessly. But it was a lot of work. And some of the things I wasn't successful in implementing those changes, which happens. But at the end of the day, I think I was okay with the contribution that I brought to the company because I understood that I came alone as a woman, but I
Mm-hmm.
stood for many. Women would tell me in the company, hey, this doesn't look right. Can you speak on it? A lot of weight on my shoulder, and that was on top of my leadership and management duties. When COVID hit, one of the hardest things for me was being morning in chief, so to speak, person.
Mm-hmm.
You're in a leadership position, obviously, that's part of your job. But when it
Mm-hmm.
happens back to back, every week, somebody's calling because they lost their grandma, they lost their mother, or their loved one is in the ICU. It's not wearing on you, right? And I think in 2020, most of us really did not know what to expect or what was going to happen. And I found myself switching from being in a leadership position to being a coach. I was coaching, like literally doing life coaching because people were not in a good space
Mm-hmm.
mentally, psychologically. I don't know about how other companies handle that, but I do know that where I worked, even though we did a lot of encouragement, team building exercises, a lot of people got affected by COVID. And my job started switching from being in a leadership position. I was still a leader, but I spent a lot of time doing life coaching, helping people get EAPs, helping people take care of themselves, encouraging people to take wellness days off. It was a lot. Last year, around May, June, I
Mm-hmm.
decided after a year and a half of dealing with COVID that I needed to step back. So that's what I did. I just decided I had given enough of my time, my energy, my service, and everything. And at that point, everybody who reported to me directly, I made sure they were at a good space, whether it was mentally or taking care of themselves. And once I felt that that was done, then it was time for me to move on.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow and wow. So have you, I don't know if you've read the book by John Maxwell, like the five levels of leadership.
I haven't, but I've heard of it. I love him though. I have several of his books, but I haven't read that one.
Oh man, as you're talking,
Mhm.
I'm just visualizing that because in the book he talks about, the levels of leadership. There's, the first level, it's just almost like the manager. You're just there and,
Mhm.
guiding people. But then you start progressing into this leadership roles where you start transitioning to now you're coaching people, now you're bringing more of you, and it
Mhm.
looks like you're in that level where now you're transitioning and you're just creating mini Mary Kims out there.
Mhm.
That is amazing. That's just
Yeah,
powerful.
and that has always been my goal. I remember when I was a new manager, I read somewhere that said that a good leader should hire to replace, basically hire people who can replace you. And at the time, that didn't make sense. As a matter of fact, I was like, well, I'm not doing that. Like, you're young,
Realize
you're
that.
like,
No,
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 I'm
no.
not.
When you hire quality people, it's easier work for you. You can effectively delegate. And and I was there. Trudy, when I left the company, the average tenure of my employees was 9 years. Like I wasn't losing employees. I had people work for me for years and years. It was 9 years. And it was the highest in the company. And I think the reason why we were so successful is because I really truly believed in taking care of people, not because they reported to me that they make me any special than they were, but because I believe that if I took care of them, they took care of me as their leader. It's a very simple rule. I think it's law, Newton law number three. What you give is what you get, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I believe that's the law. And I put out what I would love to get, and it always came back. It always did. It always did. And we did really beautiful work. Uh, and I also made sure that my team was diverse. We were so diverse, it was like the UN. It was crazy. Like I had everybody from everywhere. And that beautiful marriage, that mosaic of bringing everybody together, it was really beautiful. I learned so much from people. And I also learned a lot about myself. But I always knew this. And I don't know how I knew, but I always knew this, that I will know the right time to leave. And that time, I knew that everyone who depended on me, they may not like it. Some of them actually cried. They were really, really upset after I decided to leave. But what I knew from the bottom of my heart, I knew that they had the tools to succeed without me. I knew that I wasn't leaving them hanging. They still call me, we still talk, but I know that they're at a good space. And if they want to continue with that company, they can. If they want to move to other company, I give them everything that they needed, lots of training. So I knew that they can go there and flourish and do really good work. And that's what mattered to me. Back to my journey, that's pretty much it. It hasn't been a straight line. I honestly don't know if anybody has a career that is a straight line without any without any roadblocks or challenges. I do look at challenges as opportunities for me to learn and get better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But anyway, what the terminology I was trying to remember a few
Uh-huh.
minutes ago was corporate savviness. You have to be corporate savvy. And
Ah.
point of what John Maxwell states about 5 levels of leadership, even employees, you have levels as an employee. You start as a naive employee, naivety.
Mm-hmm.
Then you become a subject matter expert where people are coming to you and they are asking you questions. Then you progress and maybe you are a manager or maybe you are a team leader or whatever. And you feel good. But even then, your career is really not going to flourish or take off until you learn corporate savviness. Corporate savviness is where you learn to navigate through networks, you learn your way around, you have people who understand what you are, what you do. There are people who do it so well that they have such a good personal brand and they're not the smartest people. That is what is called corporate savviness.
Wow. I feel like our interviews, we need to make it 2 hours because I am learning so much. But I'm sure it's going to get to a point you're like, okay, now you need to pay for my services.
Yeah, that's the level that everybody should strive towards. Be corporate savvy to where you are able to navigate those ropes of corporate so well without being caught in the gossip mill, without, you need to put it this way. Whoever your boss is, and I'm just using you as an example because we're having a conversation, a dialogue. If your boss asks for, I'm just going to throw a number, 20% raise and presented that to their boss should already know that you are worth that because your boss presents you as that and you present yourself as that. And the image, the way you handle yourself and your work, everything speaks about who Trudy is and the kind of and the assets that you are to the company. Being corporate savvy is not easy, but once you get to that level, baby, it's a really good spot to be at.
Wow.
Mhm,
Which takes me to my next question. I feel like it's such a natural progression at this point.
mhm,
I know. So you've left your corporate career. You're taking on this new journey where you're gonna start doing coaching, executive coaching. So
mhm.
walk me around. Like, how does that look like, and what's coming down the pike on that journey?
That is a completely different ball game. Because I'm pretty much okay. So it's actually two things. I do executive coaching and I do business consultation. I would say majority of my time is spent doing business consultation. And the business consultation, I'm working with companies, small and medium companies, who really don't have a product manager on staff, or they don't have operations director, or they really are at that point where they're starting their company but they don't know the direction that they want to go into, or they already have a company but they're stuck. Their internal operation processes are not streamlined. They sometimes they don't have any processes, no standard operating procedures, nothing. So I do a lot of business coaching, right? And it so happens that I'm doing a lot of healthcare. I don't know why, because I don't even have a background in healthcare, but I know business.
Mm-hmm.
And business, you know, if you know standard business, you can apply that in any industry. That's the beauty of it. So I do a lot of business coaching. I write policies. I help with HIPAA on with these healthcare companies. They don't know how to go around being HIPAA compliant. I also do help write processes that way they can take those processes and implement. I don't implement. I just write it and I meet with their staff and I tell them what they need to do and I move on. If they
Wow.
implement, it's up
So
to them
if
because I.
anybody is interested in
Mhm.
any of the services that you offer, how would they get a hold of you?
I have a website, marykym.com. It's actually my portfolio, and you have all the services, executive coaching, business consultation, all that good stuff. It's all listed there, and there's a booking page. They can click on a link and book, and bam, I will be notified, and we can schedule a time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Look at you go. Talk
Hmm.
about being just a powerhouse. I don't want this to be the last conversation you and I are having. Like I would love to keep on connecting with you even some more. You're just a wealth of knowledge and a
Thank
wealth of
you.
experience.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And then so for those people who that are watching, they have either a similar aspiration or maybe just inspired by your journey, any part of it. What
Hmm.
kind of advice would you leave for such a person?
Know who you are, right? Know who you are. At the core, who are you? And what makes you happy? And the reason why I say that is because if you're sure of who you are, it really honestly doesn't matter what kind of roadblock you go through, that's going to carry you through. Because being in corporate, and not just corporate America, any corporate, is not easy. And especially if you're trying to get into senior leadership positions, it comes with the territory. You are not always going to make decisions that make everybody happy. Even to this day, I still make decisions that are not celebrated by everyone. And the one thing that I know is when I make a decision, as long as I know is the right decision given the circumstances, I'm okay with it. Whatever consequences come out of that, I'm willing to face them. You can't get to that point if you're unsure of who you are. You have to know deep down, who are you? And this is not just for anybody who is trying to get into senior leadership. It really honestly doesn't matter which career or which field you are. As a general rule, you have to know, who am I? Who are you? Who am I? Answer that question. And it's just really mind boggling. A lot of people have never asked themselves that question. Who am I? What matters to me? You have to see yourself, you have to hear yourself, you have to accept yourself, and then everything else becomes noise. Once you know who you are at the core, no matter what challenges you run into in life, because you will, you can always bring yourself to that place of, who is Trudy? Who is Mary? What matters to you? What are you willing to compromise? What are you not willing to compromise? Because that's a big one for me. There's some things I'm not going to compromise on. And it doesn't matter who is asking. I'm just not going to do it. But you will never know the answers to those questions until you ask yourself the most important question: who am I? Once you answer that and you figure out what matters to you and you can see yourself, you can hear yourself, you can accept yourself, then that's when you start creating boundaries. Boundaries around your personal life and boundaries around your professional life. Because I think a lot of people, they know for a fact that they can create boundaries on their personal life, but they don't do the same on their professional life. Just because somebody pays you every 2 weeks or once a month or whatever does not give them a right to abuse you. No, it doesn't. I think gone are the days where employers had an upper hand. They could just fire people because people were willing to work. We live in a very different time. And it's okay if you're not happy where you are to move on. Case in point, I wasn't unhappy where I was. I was not in alignment anymore. There wasn't anything for me. Like I didn't feel challenged. And for me, it's unacceptable to stay at a place where I'm not mentally challenged and where I don't feel like I'm in alignment with what's going on. I refuse to be in a situation like that. And that doesn't come until you know who are you. If I didn't know who I am and what made me happy, what made me sleep well at night, what mattered to me, what values I was willing to compromise and what values I wasn't willing to compromise, then it would be a very, very difficult decision for me to leave. But I knew who I was and I knew it was time to leave. And as I'm starting this other journey of doing things on my own and finding my footing, and with that comes a different set of challenges. And I'm finding that I'm able to handle those challenges better because of all the experience I've had in corporate. And I'm bringing that to say that people sometimes bad mouth corporate, but if you look back, those lessons can serve you very, very well. I believe that you either win or you learn, you don't lose. But you have to be able to look at that from that perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. I could not agree more, especially that plug on the corporate, and it applies to everything really. We
Hmm.
can take any bad experience as that was a bad experience, or we can take it as it was a lesson learned.
You're right.
So
Absolutely.
so thank you so much again for joining me today. But then I don't want to let you go, just in case you have something you would love to share as a parting shot
Right.
that maybe I didn't get a chance to ask you.
What I would like to share is this: whatever you do, whatever your line of work is, look at that as a service. And what I mean by this is you could be a waitress, you could be a driver, you could be a doctor. But I think if you're happy with that, whatever it is that you do, with that job, with that line of work, really and truly look at that as a service. You're serving people. Because when there's service and significance, with those two things, you find that your life start getting fulfilled. Because it comes back and it comes back in multitude when you serve people. The joy that comes from that cannot be overstated. Like, it's something about it. And I try to do service in whatever I do. If somebody asks me to do something and help them with something, even in my line of work, I'm not looking at it like I'm doing that so you can pay me. It's a service to me. And I think the energy you bring when you approach things from a service perspective and significance perspective by far surpasses just a job. The other thing is, and I mentioned this before, just know who you are. If you get nothing from me during this conversation, remember the challenges that I had to run into just to get to be in leadership. Problem is, most of us don't know what our gift is. Why don't we know what our gifts are? Is because we've never asked the questions. We've never dug deep to look for things that make us smile, that make us happy. And that's why so many people are unhappy because you really don't know who you are. So start by asking yourself, who are you? What makes you happy? Write down your gifts. What do you do better than anybody else? It could be cutting hair, it could be landscaping, it could be designing, whatever it is. Ask yourself, what are you good at? Once you identify that gift, then go out in the world and serve people. Your gift plus service plus significance will make you happy.
Thank you so much for sharing. That is absolutely powerful. I have enjoyed this session, and thank you so much. I know you're so busy, you have a trip coming, but thank
Mhm.
you so much for, just spending this 1 hour with me. It's been amazing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, and I hope that we can hang out another time.
Everybody else, thank you so much for staying with us. Again, if any of this message, spoke to you, or it's gonna speak to someone, close and dear to your heart, please go ahead and share this message with them. This is exactly the reason why we bring stories like this to you. It's honestly, it's just to share strong, positive, inspirational stories. So thank you so much for always supporting our work, always being here. Go ahead and share with as many people as you can. We want to reach as many people. We want to inspire as many people and share the positive message. So again, thank you so much and have a wonderful day. Until next time.